Paulo Freire, The History of Social Justice Theory. My name is Belinda N. Daly. I am a student at the American College of Education. The history of Paulo Freire. His year of birth was 1921. His date of death was May 2nd, 1997. He lived in Recife, Brazil, and attended the University of Recife, where he studied law. He had a deep interest in education and philosophy. His social justice work included social service of industry, Regional Department of Pernambuco from 1940s and 1950s, and he also worked with UNESCO. His work in education. He worked at improving adult literacy, education, and social justice. His thinking was related to the consequences of social class. Paulo Freire had plans for national adult literacy, which were stopped after a military coup. He sought refuge in Chile, working with adult literacy. He relocated to Switzerland, and then finally was allowed back home in Brazil in 1980. He was the Secretary of Education in Sao Paulo, Brazil from 1989 to 1991. Works are vast, and the three I chose to present here are Pedagogy of the Oppressed, the largest selling book by an educationist, published in 1972. He also wrote Cultural Action for Freedom, published in 1972, and it said that if you read that book first before Pedagogy of the Oppressed, it makes Pedagogy of the Oppressed much more understandable. He also wrote Education for Critical Consciousness, published in 1973. Pedagogy of the Oppressed is still popular with readings in university classes in education, sociology, business. In Brazil, only those who were able to read and write were allowed to vote at the time. His adult literacy successes made those in power very nervous. He had a belief that dialogue instead of invasion into someone's culture is key. He believed that social, political, and educational systems marginalize groups of people. He had a belief that teaching the marginalized how to engage in critical consciousness would move them to success. He was deeply concerned about oppression. Paulo Freire influences in education include equality for all, critical pedagogy, empathy, dialogue, relating word and world, and educational virtues. In sociology, it's reason and emotion, socioeconomic status concerns, and oppression and liberation. Social justice, he believed in equality for all, teacher education, intellectual responsibilities, universal human ethics, unity and diversity, collective struggle, and constructive critical dialogue. Paulo Freire in the 21st century. Right now, the big buzzwords are 21st century skills. These include digital literacy, access to digital mechanisms, critical thinking, cooperation, communication, and social responsibility. Paulo Freire's work developed before the internet existed, but he still believed in technology when it requires critical thinking. He had a philosophy, not a method for learning. He believed in empowering people to learn, moving from objects of their own circumstances to the subjects. He believed in problem solving, constructing solutions, critical thinking about the world, and he strongly believed in a community of collaboration. This can be found in many online courses and degree programs. One concern, though, is access to digital online learning. A solution to this is inviting others to have a good discourse on this, teaching about how to make sure that there is social justice, learning together, and access to the tools necessary to be a 21st century learner for everybody.